Hey, hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you for participating today. I think we can start now. Or, yeah. So, let me have this moment to welcome Sonali and experienced behavior psychologist, and I thank everyone here for participating. So, so we have Sonali with us today. So, she's an experienced behavioral psychologist with 4+ years of experience who specializes in working with young children, adolescents, and young youths, many stuff. In all her years of being a psychologist, Sonali addressed diverse issues in children related to behavior, psychological, career, emotional, adolescent, career-related stuff, and a lot other psychological aspects. We Baatu Technologies. Thanks, Sonali, for joining hands in with us, creating awareness on digital addiction. Thank you, Sonali. Thank you once again for joining us. The webinar is yours. So when the webinar is over or in the middle of the webinar, if you have any questions, you can unmute yourself and ask questions to Sonali. And you can also use the chat option to raise your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Gokul, and thank you, Batu Tech, for having me here today. Good morning and welcome all to this webinar. So, today I'll make you dive into my experiences of dealing with digital addiction among children. I have 4+ years of experience in extensively dealing with children and their parents with digital addiction. We all know that technology is putting forward a lot of opportunities for our children, that is, educational, connecting opportunities, and also to enhance their well being. But we have all seen the phase of COVID, that how this technology was affecting the children in a bad way. So, I would like to ask you all parents that what were the challenges that you faced during COVID, that is during lockdown, in dealing with this technology? Anybody would like to mention? You can mention in the chat box also. Meanwhile, I'll be sharing my screen and then we'll be proceeding forward. So, yes, what are the challenges that we faced during COVID? Can anybody mention? Yeah,
I,
this was, yeah.
yeah, no, I think Sindhu has put something in the chat box.
Yeah, I just see.
Yeah.
Unable to get the children off the screen. Yeah, we are right that we were facing a lot of issues due to long hours. Children were getting hooked on the screen. That they were studying on the screen, and the entertainment source was also the screen. So this was the biggest issue. And what else? We were facing the issue of managing an effective balance, that is between what the children were gaining as a positive source like educational purpose, and also how to have an effective balance so that they could play outside also. So digital addiction in children. So what the term digital addiction could mean to you? What are the things that you have seen in children that could be a sign or a symptom for a digital addiction? Yeah, we all know that excessive screen time could be a sign of digital addiction. But what else? Parents, please participate and make this webinar more engaging. I would request you all. Yeah, social media usage. So yeah, there were many things that were contributing to digital addiction. So today we'll be covering what is the brain chemistry that is responsible for digital addiction in children, what are the signs and effects that we could see in our children, and at the end, we'll be discussing some digital parenting tips for you all. So till then, stay with us. So now, COVID-19 survey says that around 65% children have become device addictive during lockdown. This is a survey from the Department of Pediatrics. The survey says that a total of 70.7% of students have behavioral problems, and also 17.4% reported a reduced attention span. This survey doesn't like the only survey, but there is one another survey, that is a Baatu survey, which is also saying that about 60% of children between the age of 5 to 6 years exhibit behaviors indicative of potential digital addiction. So this reminds me of a case of a child whose parents turned me up during lockdown, and the child was facing the same issue. He can't able to concentrate for longer hours at a time. So his attention span was reduced just to minimal, and the child was having daydreaming issues. He can't able to sit at one place also. So this is not the thing that a child faced during lockdown. But as soon as the school got reopened, the teachers also saying the same problem with the child. So if we would not have an urgent effective strategies to mitigate the negative effect, what could be the severe consequences on our children we could have? We can't just imagine even. So let's discuss. What is digital addiction in children? Here is a striking visual on your screen. This is a teenager. He is indulging into some activities here. So what could you be, what are the first thought that you could have in your mind, want to come up with? Like you can mention in the chat box also, and you can unmute yourself. Like what is the first thing that comes up to your mind? You can take 10 to 20 seconds. Like what could be the signs, symptoms, or anything that you are seeing with this child related to digital addiction? Yes, the child is using excessive screen time, like not even screen time, but at same time he is involved into multiple sources, like the laptop you could see in the image, the tab lying down, and also there's a phone. So you could see from his eyes, he haven't slept like for since days. We could see like his eyes is protruding outside, the dark circle under his eyes. So it seemed that he been hooked to this digital addiction like quite some ample of days, or more than that even. And what else we could see here is the child can't able to sleep properly, and also the food lying on the floor. What does depict? That the child is not having a proper appetite. So he is not able to take the food properly. So there was a teenager whose name was Rahul. I would not take his real name. The parents were facing the exact same issue, I would say. The parents were so worried because Rahul was not the person he used to be before. He was not like this. He was such an engaging child. He would do wonders in his studies. And when COVID came, the child was studying on screen all day long. And that time he was having some social media friends. So due to them, he the source of entertainment was just few. We all know that at that time. So the child can't able to go outside to have the play. So he started playing game like on his laptop. So like this only the child got into gaming addiction. So according to a survey published in the Journal of Behavioral Addiction, approximately 3 to 4% children worldwide experience problematic gaming behavior. And this is not only the gaming behavior that could be causes of digital addiction. The child could have other behavioral addictions, like he could scroll all day long on social media. He could be binge watching Netflix and other OTT platforms. And also, the most severe and very threatening is the porn addiction that we are seeing in teenagers these days. Because teenagers are going through a lot of hormonal changes these days. So that demands them to see all those things. So who will guide them? So now we'll be discussing the types of digital usages. it's not limited to online game, now we know. So 42% is the children that are using online game. But online game is not only the problem. The problem are many, like 32.7% are using it for video streaming and downloads. 9.3% are using for social media scrolling and other activities. And you could see here just 5.2% children are using it for education and research purpose. Is this not an alarming? Like the 42% are using for online games and just 5.2% are using for education and research. So are our children using it in an effective way? We can say that the digital media is not hampering their brain. So now we'll be understanding the brain chemistry of our children, that how the child gets into this. Before this, I would like you all to look at this picture. This is an MRI study of normal brain development in child. That is from age 5, you could say, the brain development starts, and it goes until 20 adulthood, and after that also it continues. So here I want to make you all clear that these colors depicting the different regions, like the growth of the different regions on different areas and different time. But here two main things that you all need to know is the blue color that is depicting the growth in the lower region. This region is responsible for reward seeking behavior in the child. So this region starts developing from age 5. But what about this upper region? You know what this region is responsible for. This is very important part to play in the child development for critical thinking and decision making skills. But this hasn't been started developing yet at the age 5. But this reward seeking and pleasure area is start developing. So now here is a hormone, dopamine, which is a neurotransmitter associated with pleasure and reward. So this same hormone, dopamine, which is we also call the happy hormone, starts developing here in this region when the child gets involved into any of the activities like gaming or other activities that he finds interesting or pleasurable. So now the release of dopamine is not what we are it's not the problem here, but it's the surge, like the level crosses its minimal level. So now if the child involves in the gaming again and again, not just gaming, porn addiction or any other thing, so what happens? Excess is not good. So if this area is producing excess hormone and the upper area which is not yet developed to control that hormone, not the child can't able to make critical thinking, like the decision making of what is good or right for them. So how will they able to control this addiction? They don't know the limit, when to use it, how much to use it. So that's why the child brain get caught up into this digital addiction. But here is not only the dopamine which is getting affected due to excessive screen time. There is also one more hormone, serotonin, which is a natural mood stabilizer and also stimulates sleep cycle both in adult and children. So this hormone is also very crucial because this brain development happens during sleep time in children, and that is very important for the child's healthy growth, like the overall growth. So in the evening time, we say that serotonin starts developing. So doctors also advise that we should not use any screen time after 6 or 7 in the evening. And before going to bed, like 1 hour, we should be just cutting it off completely. But what we do? Are we doing that? We are not. So if a child carries the screen, like if they are using before bed or even before sleeping also, this serotonin secretion get disrupted in child's brain, and now the sleep pattern disrupt. If the child is not sleeping at time, does the healthy brain development will be going in the child? No, not at all. So now this is what the digital addiction impact child brain and this brain chemistry that is involved in this. So now I think that it is clear to you how the brain chemistry of children is designed in such a way that if excessive screen time could not be managed effectively, it could lead to potential dangers in future. So after this, if anybody is having any question regarding this or whatever we have discussed up till now, they can put it up in the chat box or they can also unmute themselves and ask. So after this, we'll be having an activity that is myth versus fact. So here's an engaging activity for you all. But before that, I would like to say that everybody needs to participate and make it engaging. So whatever is your point, like you think that this is a myth, you will say M in the chat box. And if you think that it is a fact according to you, you will say F in the chat box. So I request everyone to participate. So first sentence is excessive usage of smartphones, social media, and video games make kids happy. Is it a myth or a fact? Like excessive usage of smartphones, social media, and video games really can make kids happy. People are saying F, that is fact. Yeah, it might make the child for some moment feel pleasurable, but what if the child, like as we discussed in the chemistry for the brain, if they'll be using it excessive, it will not have an healthy impact. It might be pleasurable for movement, like for a small moment, but in longer run, it can't be. So now the second sentence is kids can learn to set their own screen and phone limits. Kids can really set their own phone limits. Is it a myth or a fact? Kids' brain that is responsible, the upper portion, as we discussed, I had shown you in the picture also, that is responsible for critical thinking and decision making skills, it yet not started developing. So the child doesn't know what is right or wrong, so they can't take an effective decision or balance the screen time on their own. So this is not a fact. So the third is most successful children are raised without any digital devices. Is it a myth or a fact? Yeah, some saying it's a myth. Yeah, in this digital era, we know that we are using the digital devices for any or everything. Our daily needs are dependent on that only. So child has also started been accustomed to it and they need it for educational purposes also. The school is also demanding the same. So we can't just cut it off from their life. We need to have an effective and healthy balance between online screen time and offline activities. So in this way, we could have been dealing with this. So this is all myth versus fact. Thank you everyone for participating. We'll be proceeding forward with signs and symptoms that we should look forward for digital addiction in children. So first and the foremost, it itself is screen time, that is excessive screen time. Neglecting other activities and responsibilities. So if the child is giving excessive screen time and due to that, he or she is neglecting other activities, as we had seen in the picture that the child was so engrossed using mobile, tab, and also computer, he's just neglecting sleep, food, which is very important part of the life. We can't survive without that. And the second is withdrawal symptoms like anxiety, irritability, and when separated, they should show some tantrums also. Like when the child is on screen and parents, we have a habit like we see the child like just for 5 to 10 minutes also we want their time or attention for any household activities. We say that switch it off or don't do it for and just come up, but the child says mama papa please 5 minutes, please 10 minutes, and if you like insist them more and more, they got irritated and just say no. So this is what the withdrawal symptoms that a child could show. Third is sleep disturbances. Due to late night screen use and loss of appetite, as we discussed, the hormone serotonin is affected because of excessive screen time. So it will definitely cause sleep disturbances. The last is secrecy or dishonesty. You are a working parent, so you don't have much time to see what your child is having on screen or like going through that. Some parents are vigilant, but not all parents are so friendly these days. The children are guiding their parents like how to do that. So if you're not at home, you might be giving them for educational purposes. But what if they got some other content like other notifications? It's your phone like just lying on the bed or somewhere. You don't have a password. The child just pick it up and there are some like links or something that they click. Not all contents are appropriate for child brain. So the child will be getting affected due to that. So they start showing some secrecy or dishonesty in the sense like if you ask them, they will not say because they know that you will scold them and you will not going to let them use that again. So these are all the signs and symptoms that we should look forward in our children if we want to know that they are being on the verge of digital addiction. So after signs and symptoms, most important are the causes, like what leads to digital addiction. So there could be ample of causes that would lead. So you can also mention what is according to you the causes for digital addiction. So meanwhile, we'll be discussing the first, easy access to devices. As we know, and as I've said just right now only, that your phone is just lying on the bed or somewhere. The child knows the password and or she might have seen like you entering the password though. They'll have an easy access. These parents are in, if they are working, they can't have so much time to see what their children are consuming. So if they have easy access, so they can do any or everything that they want. So easy access will have a lot of content that a child could be exposed to that is not friendly to them. Second is the social media pressure. Someone also said in the chat box, peer pressure. So this is what we could relate here also, like social media. Now the child is having social media account and their friend circle itself is like available on social media. Like a huge group of friend circle, not just two, three that we were having in our days. So the child seeing their friends on social media, they posted some photos or something, they are traveling somewhere, their parents bought something new, or they're doing some new activities, and they gain so much likes, comments on that post. The child now have pressure, like they also want to do the same. They also want that social recognition. So they'll be posting, and just like that, they'll start using social media and like wasting their time on social media. So after this, the third is appealing feature of games and apps. So like appealing feature of games and apps here, it would mean that the games and apps are designed in such a way that the child's brain can't able to comprehend, like their thinking and decision making skills yet not developed properly. So this appeals like the child brain which needs the reward and pleasure, so the child can't able to resist and they start using or gaming. So these are the causes. Now what next is the effects. So there are three main categories here we have mentioned for effects of digital addiction in children. First and foremost is the physical issues that a child could have. The child is staying on just the same place all day long, like couch or anything. So they are having no movement, no outdoor activities, just on screen. The child here can have a lot of physical issues. If we have a sedentary lifestyle, we all know that what are the consequences. Why it is said to do exercise and yoga. So if the child is using all day long sitting just at single place, the child would have weight gain. Other problems like the child could have issues in their eyes. They're using their eyes only to just seeing the screen and all. The child could have hearing problem also. The child has just plug in the microphones, earphones, anything like earbuds and just listening to the music videos all day long. So these are the physical issues the child could face. The second is social issues. So there are two datas here. Like first is 73% of children face online bullying, that is cyberbullying. We all know what is bullying and what are cyberbullying. Second is 36% of girls endure online threats. So they are not so developed, like their brain are not so developed to deal with all these bullying words or any online threat that they would come across online. So these are the social issues that a child could have. Apart from this, the peer pressure, social media recognition, and there are many other social issues. The child could literally cut them off from their parents, their friends, their offline activities had just disrupted, and they just use social media or show their presence digitally. The third and last is mental issues. This is very important because if we are not have a healthy mind, we can't have a healthy body. So mental issues here in children could be 8 in 10 children affected by depression or self-esteem issues. So the child has just cut it off from their parents or like friends, like family members. They are not interacting with them. He or she is not having any outdoor activity. So whatever issues they are facing, like the self-esteem issues due to social media pressure or stress, anxiety, anything that is developed, they can't able to discuss with anyone. So they can't also deal with them from themselves. So this is what the social issues that could be seen in children. So the effects discussed, we have discussed signs and symptoms, the brain chemistry, and what is digital addiction. So now if anybody is having any question regarding or any query, they can put it directly in the chat box or they can unmute self. They are open to that. And next and the last is the digital parenting tips. So before that, if we are having any question, I would like to answer that. Yeah, Ganesh, we'll be discussing the solution only now. So before that, what's the query if you're having? Otherwise, we'll be proceeding. So digital parenting tips. Government of India, in collaboration with NCRT, rolled out a guide booklet highlighting the importance of digital parenting for both parents and children to develop safe and healthy relationship with technology. So there's a guide booklet from government. You can go through that booklet also later. But here are the 4 important tips that I have taken to put an emphasis on. So first is be a role model and practice healthy digital habits yourself. Because our child are just like sponge. They'll just soak any and everything that is available around in the environment. So you are the first teacher for your child. They are since childhood, before going to school, they are with you. So they see you as your like their role model. So they copy you and whatever you do, right or wrong, they'll do the same. So it is first and foremost your responsibility that you are using the technology in an effective way and having a proper screen time yourself. So encourage alternative activities and hobbies. So if you are encouraging activities like if you are co-viewing with them on tab, like whatever the child likes, give some time during weekends or like after office in the evening, spend time with them whatever activities they like the offline activity, the online activity, but set a time limit for them. So if you will do some activities like yoga or meditation, they'll also do the same. The second is set clear rules and time limits for device usage. Create device-free zones time in the house. So here you should demarcate every region, like it should be strictly prohibited. They should not carry the screen to their bed. And also during eating, like at dining, you should have a family time. Like at that time, nobody should use any device and have a healthy discussion there also. It is very important because all day long we are engaged in some of the other activities on screen. If we can't not able to interact with each other, we'll be not able to knowing what the other person having issues related to the devices or any other activities also. So set a clear rule and time limit that during learning, during educational purpose, you will be not using any other apps or devices. So the third is seek professional help if you suspect severe addiction. So it is not just only the severe addiction, but if you have just seen any mild or moderate sign symptom that we have discussed, you should be alert at that point also and start looking for some professional that could be having to deal with the child. So, four is very important. And the last, use parental control settings on devices. So, there are many apps and settings that are coming up that will guide you, like that will give you notifications that what your child is doing on their devices that you have provided them. So this is very important for working parents because we are all day not at home. We are just involved in our work. But if we are checking our notifications, like what the child is doing, what are the contents, if any threat contents, like the bullying content the child have come across, it will pop up through that app. And also where the child is traveling, some like geofencing settings are also there that will let you know where your child has gone, like traveling with that, like if they are going to coaching or anywhere. So this is the thing that I would say that it is very important in today's digital era. Openly communicate with children about responsible technology use. Like tell them what is responsible technology use. Digital literacy is very important in this age because we, not only we, but our children whose brain are not yet developed, we should only guide them that what is healthy digital habits, how to manage effective screen time, and also other activities. So this is the digital parenting tips that we have discussed right now. So now if you're having any problem or any question, you can discuss with me. You can ask it directly in the chat box and unmute yourself. Yeah, Ganesh is saying also how to prevent them from watching something bad. Please answer. So I have given the parenting tips like you should use an effective communication with them, like guide them what is wrong or right for them. And also in this digital era, we should be having some parental control apps or devices to let us know that will also block whatever the bad content that a child would expose to. So they will have some limited app access on the devices. So in this way, it will be very easy. If the child doesn't know that such content even exists, the child would not demand like having to go through those contents. I hope I'm clear to this. Thank you, Renu. Yeah, Sindhu is asking what are recommended screen time. So according to Department of Pediatrics and also Psychiatric Association, like the depend on the child's age, there are many screen times like below 2 to 3 years, there's 2 to 3 hours, and like that, if above that age, you should go that guidelines like what's the appropriate age for your child and what's the appropriate screen time that they should be exposed to. But from my side, you should have an effective balance if your child is a teenager above 9 to 10 years of age because they will be needing it for some educational purposes also. So you should limit them to have it 3 to 4 hours. So any more questions? So how to handle teens seeing animated porns? Naina has put this question. So for all those questions that is popping up now, I would say that use some parental control apps or devices these days available very handy because you can't able to fix whatever is popping up on this normal phone and devices. They will eventually pop up. The child might have got it to know from some of the sources that there's something animated porn or something like that is existing. So you should use a device for that, I would say, or any app. And also here, if it's a teenager, so it's their age. There are some hormonal changes that is going on right now. So the child will like want to know all these things, like what like their body parts are developing these days. So what are the sexual activities, and also you should have an open communication, because sex education is very important part, and teachers are also doing the same in school. So but we parents like hesitate these days, we are not openly communicating about that, which is creating a like awkward situation for the child. They are doing it and hiding it in the same. So if you will not educate them, what is the right thing? Like what is the right age to watch that? They will be doing it anyways. So rather than scolding them if they are coming up with any of the other problem, you should from beginning only like have that much created some communication with the child, that the child would come to you if they, because there are many parents who really like have an effective communication with their child. And if the child, like innocent child, sees some of the thing, they literally ask like, mama, what is this, what is this, like what is that. So if they are not like asking you, and they are just doing it in a hidden way, there is some problem for you from your side, I would say. So have an effective communication with the child, so that they would turn it up next time with any of the problems openly. So I hope that this would answer your question. Any more questions? Is there any question that I have not taken up? So thank you all for being so patient and making this webinar engaging.
Hope I'm audible. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Sonali, for sharing all the valuable insights. And I got to learn a lot. I hope everyone who participated feels the same. So, on behalf of Baatu, I thank everyone who participated in this webinar. And I noticed a frequent question that popped was to how to monitor, your kids watching adult content, especially animated porn. And I also got a question from Ganesh regarding the same, and also one XA user. So we Bato Technologies have a device called Enable Smart Tab. So we have been sold this tab in the last, we've been developed and launched this tab 2 years back, and we have sold almost 2,500 plus devices with useful parental control tools that controls your child's screen time, and also it sends alerts when your child is being exposed to any adult content, and if they've been through cyberbullying. So we have this safe soap feature that tracks the vulgar words that are directed, and it will send parents immediate alerts on this. We also have a geofencing feature using that you can track your child's live location. And yes, so after this webinar, we will send a link to our tablet. So please check that out. And also let me use this opportunity to tell you that we'll be conducting more webinars on weekly basis with expert doctors, counselors, and so many experienced people. And when we started, we even got tons of positive responses from chairmen and teens from popular hospitals and colleges to talk more about childcare, digital addiction, and digital dependency and stuff. So stay tuned for updates and join our WhatsApp community where we share a lot of parenting tips and research articles and a lot of useful information on a daily basis. So the link to join the community will be shared to your WhatsApp along with an exclusive 3,500 rupees gift voucher to purchase your enabled smart tablet as we promised. So if you have any questions, so please unmute yourself and shoot them, or you can directly shoot your questions in the chat. So either to Sonali or to me, and please do. So the webinar will be open for next 5 minutes. If you have any questions, please shoot. Okay then, I hope everyone had a great session today. So we will update you with the next webinar details. Thank you everyone for joining.